The truth about why 70% of the 7x8x generation are obsessed with the risk of bankruptcy, even though they own enviable assets. We spend endless time dissecting boomers and their sprawling real estate holdings, millennials with their overpriced coffees, and Gen Z's frantic gig economy scrambles. But there's an overlooked group in the mix, handling money in the most baffling, contradictory fashion, and hardly anyone discusses them. I'm referring to Generation X, born roughly between 1965 and 1980. They're the colleague who's built a fortune that makes younger folks envious, yet lives as if one bad day could wipe them out. They're the relative with a hefty retirement fund who clings to a clunky 15-year-old car like it's irreplaceable. They'll splurge $1,000 on nostalgic 90s concert tickets without hesitation, but haggle fiercely over a 50-cent soap coupon. At first glance, it seems hypocritical or clueless, but what if their money mindset is uniquely shaped, unlike any other generation? What if their brains process risk and reward in a fundamentally altered way? In a moment, I'll reveal the pivotal economic event that shattered their faith in the system, backed by real psychological and neurological insights. It's a shift that rewired how their limbic system handles finances. By the end, you'll grasp why 70% of Gen Xers dread bankruptcy, despite solid assets, the buried trauma steering their choices, and the clever survival tactics you can adopt in today's volatile economy. Imagine cruising a sleek sports car on a sunny highway, but your foot hovers nervously on the brake, always ready for disaster. You're advancing but braced for impact. That's the mental state for many in their late 40s and 50s. Outwardly, they project stability, the house, the steady job, the comfortable life. Inside, alarms blare constantly. We call them cheap or gloomy, but that's missing the point. They're not greedy hoarders. They're fortifying against a world that, in their experience, snatches success away in an instant. Understanding this will reshape how you view them, and perhaps your own finances. Let's set the scene. It's 1983. You're 10, clutching your dad's hand in a neighborhood bank that smells of wood polish, stale coffee, and paper. The teller greets him by name, chats about your mom. He deposits his consistent paycheck from the factory he's loyal to for 15 years. His pension is locked in, savings grow visibly in a passbook with real interest, and the home mortgage ticks down predictably. To a young Gen Xer, it's logical. Work hard, stay loyal, bank wisely, retire easy. It wasn't advice, it was unbreakable truth. We envy older generations for their easy path to the middle class, but for Gen X, that path was promised, then yanked away. They got the ticket, but the economy invalidated the currency. What happens when your worldview crumbles? Jump to the early 2000s, the dot-com crash, then the 2008 meltdown. Now in your mid-30s, you followed the rules. But suddenly, your secure company downsizes. A veteran colleague, 20 years in, is marched out with a box of mementos. No notice, no cushion. Your 401k halves overnight. Home values plummet. Trusted pillars, corporations, banks, markets, government, failed spectacularly. Betrayal by a person. You move on. By the system, it scars deeply, eroding your sense of safety. Neurologically, it's profound. Sudden security loss hyperactivates the amygdala, pumping cortisol for threats. Evolutionarily, it's for fleeting dangers like fleeing a predator. But for Gen X, hit by recessions, stagnant wages, and eroding dreams, it became chronic. Psychologists call it complex financial trauma. Their brains link success symbols to danger, a fat portfolio. It'll vanish. It's not fleeting pessimism, it's wired in. This explains their paradoxes. You'd expect total hoarding, but they use defensive pessimism, assume failure, plan contingencies. Studies show 70% fear retirement despite high savings rates. They max contributions, doubting the system, market crashes, inflation, rule changes loom. But they prepare anyway. Surprise pain is intolerable. This mindset fuels their careers too. They pioneered side hustles, but unlike younger gens chasing freedom, Gen X clings to day jobs. Higher self-employment than boomers or millennials, yet they build backups not for riches but survival. That weekend house flipper or evening consultant. It's an escape hatch if the axe falls. Not ambition, pure fear-driven redundancy. Spending habits confuse marketers. Frugal on basics, drive cars to death, micromanage bills, hunt deals, but lavish on experiences, pricey tickets, exotic trips. Why? Crashes taught that possessions evaporate, foreclosures, depreciations, market wipes, but memories, untouchable. No crash repossesses a concert, thrill, or family adventure. In an unstable system, experiences offer inflation-proof ROI over repossessable stuff. They carry loads, the highest consumer debt, but strategically. Mortgages, fine, predictable, controllable. Credit cards, avoid like plague. Chaotic, compounding traps that devoured their parents in the 80s, 90s credit boom. They fear variables, not debt itself. Tech ties in oddly. They built the internet, use apps daily, but hoard paper records. Remember dial-up crashes, .com busts. Digital's convenient, but fallible. So fireproof safes hold deeds, statements, redundancy against failures. excessive, not to those who have seen systems collapse. Is this hypervigilance tragic? Far from it. Their anxiety forged anti-fragility, systems strengthened from shocks. Gen X embodies this financially. While others rely on single points, one job, one app, they build redundancies. Defensive pessimism, a risk algorithm. They expect rigging, disloyalty, volatility, so downturns don't blindside them. Next recession, they'll activate backups calmly while optimists shatter. Now reflect, if fired tomorrow, what happens? Server outage, proof of funds, assuming the system cares. If not, building redundancies like Gen X, you're on a tightrope without a net. Grasp these forces manipulating your choices. The economy evolves fast, traps sophisticate. Don't leave. Next, I'll expose banking's wealth-draining trigger, invisible to 99%. Subscribe, notify, stay armed against rule changes.